Ninja Monkey, you're in Japan again? How much do you spend on your trips? So I just got back from another 11-day epic Japan trip where I mainly used Tokyo as a base and traveled on day trips such as to Yokohama to meet Gundam the robot himself, explored Enoshima Island for an epic view of Fuji, Kamakura for some temples, met up with a friend at Kawagoe and Shibamata, traveled to Nagano and Matsumoto, and karaokeed at my first YouTuber viewer meetup in Japan, hanged out with friends at Ashikaga, not to forget visiting a magical snow view onsen at Takaragawa Onsen, and met a lot of people along the way. You could say it was very busy and I made the most of this awesome trip. And as a result, there's a lot of upcoming content too. It might be worth subscribing and having the notifications turned on if you haven't already. So, how much did I spend on this trip to Japan? I want to give a rough overview of how much I spent on one of my trips to Japan. I'd say that this trip is in the mid-budget range, meaning I don't really splash out, but I also try not to miss out on things too. Two of the biggest expenses are actually hotels and flights, which will always vary from person to person, and I'll be revealing how much I spent on my flights at the end of the video to reveal the grand total. As a returning traveler and mainly spending most of my time out of the hotel room, I am happy with the many budget business style hotels that are out there. In this case, I stayed at Upper Hotel for a total of 13 nights for the convenience of having access to my room on the very last day of my stay so that I could shower and rest before my nighttime flight. I spent a total of 87,685 yen, which is approximately 6,745 yen a night for a well-located, clean, no frills, comfortable room at a budget hotel that had its own public onsen spa on the top floor. Not bad, huh? I also purchased unlimited pocket Wi-Fi with Bupuru for 18,613 yen, and there's actually an affiliate link with a discount code in the video description if that's something that you're interested in. Okay, so those are some of my upfront expenses out of the way, so let's talk about transit and day trip transport. I used a prepaid Suica card and topped up as I went along, and did not use a JR Pass until much later on in my trip. I'll break down some of my major day trips and give an overview, an average of how much I would more or less spend each day on public transport. But first, here are some of the bigger train expenses from my trip. Firstly, getting from the airport to Ueno where I was staying, I used the monorail and JR lines, and it actually cost me 670 yen. My return trip from Ueno Station to Yokohama was 1,140 yen. My return trip from Ueno Station to Enoshima was 2,300 yen, and my return trip from Ueno Station to Kamakura was 1,880 yen. And finally, my return trip to Ashikaga was 1,970 yen. Bear in mind that a lot of this can be offset if you decided to use a JR Pass if it's worth it for you. As for daily transport, it's easy to get carried away with Tokyo's awesome metro and JR lines, and looking back at my transit record, I visited between 3 and 6 stations daily. To give you a picture of what one of my days might have looked like, on a less busy day, I traveled from Ueno to Asakusa for 168 yen. I walked back to Ueno and then caught the train to Shinjuku for 220 yen, and finally back to Ueno for 198 yen. That was a total of 586 yen for that day. But on a much more busy day, I traveled from Ueno to Shibamata for 450 yen, made my way to Takasago for 138 yen, then went to Asakusa 231 yen, went to Ginza 199 yen, made my way to Yotsuya for 168 yen, and finally back home for 220 yen. In total, that was 1,406 yen, so you kind of get an idea of what my daily transit might have looked like. Transit, not including day trips, in total I spent 5,039 yen. Including day trips, it was 12,324 yen. That's an average of 1,120 yen a day. I did actually end up purchasing the regional JR East Nagano Niigata Pass for 18,000 yen whilst I was in Japan, which I used for the very last few days of my trip to recoup what the Shinkansen to Nagano and a trip to Matsumoto would have cost, and made the most of it by trying to use JR lines and even using it on my last day to return to the airport. Therefore, all in all, the grand total cost of transportation, including the 5-day regional JR pass, metro and day trips, came to 30,300 yen. So, food. It's a little bit harder for me to keep track of how much I spend on food, but I can try. Most mornings would include a coffee and some kind of pastry where I would probably spend around 750 yen. And for lunch, I'd usually grab something from the kombini or grab a set menu lunch, for example from Coco Curry. That would be around 1,000 yen or possibly just a little bit more. Dinner could vary, also costing between 1,000 and 3,000 yen on average, and drinks with friends might also add an extra 2,000 or 3,000 yen, although I didn't drink every night. All in all, my guess is that I averaged around 3,000 to 4,000 yen a day for food, not eating anything too fancy though. Therefore, my food costs was around 44,000 yen, and yes, I did obviously visit vending machines, and I calculated that I probably had 2 drinks or so a day, reaching about 2,500 yen in total for my trip. During my trip, I did visit a number of additional places, so here are some additional costs. For example, going to the Gundam factory in Yokohama set me back 4,950 yen, the Team Labs Planet in Tokyo was 3,200 yen, and a full day trip onsen visit was 1,800 yen, but I was very lucky that some friends drove me, so it really made the snow onsen trip very affordable, and I'm super grateful. Arigatou gozaimasu. Temple visits, I probably ended up spending around 2,000 yen in total because I didn't visit too many temples on this occasion, and I really didn't spend too much on souvenirs as I don't tend to take too much back with me these days, but I did probably end up spending around 15,000 yen here and there, mainly on Tokyo Banana. So those are my mainly daily expenses, pretty much everything that I spent on the daily. Therefore, spending money, which includes transport, food, drink, but doesn't include special events and experiences, came to around 95,937 yen. That's around 8,722 yen a day. And as for the total of this trip, including hotels, flights, and additional experiences and trips, although this one can really vary depending on who you're flying with and when you book, so bear this in mind, I wanted to give you my grand total. I flew the cheapest flight that I could find at the time, which ended up being with Turkish Airlines from Malaga in the south of Spain with a layover in Istanbul for a whopping £1,223. This by far was the biggest expense of the trip. Add the spending money, which was £614, the total cost of the hotel £561, and the combined cost of the experiences such as Gundam and Team Labs, etc., £76.62, and I paid a total of around £2,414, which was just over £200 a day. Like I said earlier, this was a mid-budget trip that I had saved up for quite a few months and was partially funded with the help of viewers who support the channel just like you. I'm incredibly thankful for the community that has been created and the support that you show me. Every donation, super and Patreon fund goes straight back into the channel so that I can continue to make content just like this and hopefully bring you along on my future adventures. So if you are interested in helping offset some of these costs so that I can return and bring you more fun videos, please consider donating. If not, that's no problem whatsoever. I really value your time and thank you for your encouragement along the way. I'd love to know your thoughts on this video in the comment section, and I look forward to sharing what I've come up with in the coming weeks. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Prove it by commenting with a monkey emoji, even if you have absolutely nothing to say. Catch you in the next one. Stay positive but COVID negative. Till next time, bye.